Hey geeks, it's that time again. It's time for another Game of Thrones review. Things are heating up in episode 4. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it before you watch my review because there will be spoilers ahead. Oh my god, these episodes just keep getting better and better, and it makes me fully excited. So we're going to talk about five-ish things that happened in the episode that stood out to me, um, and really defined the episode as a whole. So let's just jump into it. Um, Arya makes it to Winterfell. Finally, she gets to see her home again. Is reunited with Sansa and Bran through some funny hijinks. At first, uh, a scene that kind of harks back to the first season. She's stopped at the gate by two witless guards, and she tries telling them, "I'm Arya Stark. Let me in. I live here." And they're cracking jokes about it and just being like, "No, get out of here. Fuck off. You know, you don't live here. You're nobody." And she pretty much tells them, if I am Arya and you turn me away, what's Sansa gonna say? And then they kind of think about it and they let her in. They're like, sit right here. And then of course she disappears because it's Arya. The two guards go and tell Sansa. Sansa knows exactly where Arya went, and they meet underground at the crypts in front of their father's um, statue. Um, and Arya makes the comment, it looks nothing like him. They should have gotten someone who actually knew what he looked like to carve it. And Sansa's like, well, everyone who knew him is dead. Which is kind of a sad sentiment, but very, very true. And it speaks very truly of where they are now compared to where they were before. They share a couple of hugs. Um, and I feel like they're hugs of understanding that they've both been through hell and back in their own ways. They've both seen some shit and been in some shit. So later on, she takes her out to the weirwood tree and says hi to Bronn, and Bronn actually hugs Arya back. Unlike the hug that he got from Sansa in the last episode, he didn't really hug her back. And so the three are reunited once again, and it's explained for exposition purposes that Bran has visions, so he knows everything. He knows all sorts of stuff. Earlier in the episode, Littlefinger gives Bran the cat's paw dagger. It's a Valyrian steel dagger, the one that was used to try and kill Bran when he was still in his coma in the first episode. That shows up again. Bran gives it to Arya, and pretty much says, it's wasted on a cripple. It's no use for a cripple. Um, so Arya has that, and that led to one of the funner scenes in the episode where she actually has a training match against Brienne of Tarth. Ultimately, no matter how fancy Arya gets, Brienne probably could overpower her based on the kick that she gave Arya. I mean, she punted her across the fighting area. But Arya was showing off her moves, and I think Sansa was a combination of surprised and proud that her sister finally found kind of a niche for herself. Um, so there's that. Head over to Dragonstone. Jon Snow takes Daenerys into the cave of Dragonglass with the explanation of, I want you to see it before we start mining it out. I want you to see what we're after. And so you get to see this beautiful obsidian cave. And, Daenerys is fully impressed by this, and Jon says, there's one more thing I want you to see. And he leads her deeper into the cave, and she follows, and you can see that there's some chemistry there. There's some chemistry and some tension there, which I'm fully supportive of. I totally ship them, even though she's technically his auntie. I totally ship them. Um, and in this cave is just this crazy amount of like cave painting, cave carving, from the children of the forest, and it kind of explains how they worked with the first men to defeat the Night's King the first time the Long Night happened, and he shows this to Daenerys, and she's just in awe of this, and is more likened to believe Jon, um, than she was before. And she's like, I will fight for you if you bend the knee. And he's pretty much like, it's like, I can't do that. What would that do to my people? They wouldn't follow me if I bent the knee. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? You need my people, so, you need my dragons. What you gonna do? So they're at that impasse where eventually he's either gonna have to bend the knee, or Daenerys is gonna have to give in somehow. But I really liked story time with Jon. That was a good scene and filled with um, more things that really pleased me about their interactions. Um, Next thing up, we have Jaime and the Tarleys and Bronn, escorting a caravan of wheat and oats and all the, food that they have taken from Highgarden, caravanning that back towards King's Landing. Tarley told him, don't worry, the gold has already made it past the gates of King's Landing. He goes, but we should really hurry up the rest of the train. And Jaime's like, all right, yeah, okay. And then all of a sudden, frickin' like 60,000, like 100,000 Dothraki screamers fucking come over the crest of this hill, and Bronn's the first one to hear it, and then Jaime hears it, and he's like, holy shit. He's like, this is bad, and they set up a kind of a phalanx of, shields, then spears, and that doesn't really stop them, and they just get wrecked. The Lannister army just gets fucking wrecked by the Dothraki, and then here comes Daenerys on her dragon, and on Drogon, and she just comes in and she just torches the entire caravan that's left there. All of the food and grain gone. She just torches the shit out of it. And she torches some of the Lannister soldiers. She's creating holes for the Dothraki to get through to the back, to the meat of the army. It was impressive to see. It was a really great fight, and it was awesome to see her get her Aegon the Conqueror on, and send a message to Cersei, like, bitch, I'm here for real, and you can't stop me. It was a crazy scene. It was long. You had Bronn firing off the giant crossbow, the scorpion that Qyburn came up with. He fires it once, it flies over Drogon, misses him, but fires it again and hits poor Drogon in the shoulder, which brought him down for a hot minute. But Drogon, it kind of acted to piss him off a little more than actually hurt him, because he just whoosh, whoosh, fire just burned the scorpion up. Bronn barely got out of the way. You know, and then he smashes the remains with his tail, like, you know, almost like a little kid would go, bad, bad toy, you know, just boom. Um, and then you got Jamie having to make this choice of whether or not to flee to King's Landing or to try and take out Danny, who has now stepped off of Drogon and is trying to pull the bolt out of his shoulder. Tyrion is sitting on a hill watching the whole thing and is looking at him as like, don't do it, you idiot. And then he sees his brother pick up a spear and get on his horse and just start charging towards Danny, and he's like, you fucking idiot. Which is incidentally the uh, quote of the episode. And Drogon's head whips around at Jamie and prepares to blast him, and here comes Bronn. Bronn comes over, grabs Jamie, rips him off his horse, and dives into the water with him. And that just was some crazy sauce. uh, these guys are crazy, I swear. Oh my goodness. Uh, but yeah, that's most of what happened in the episode. We also had some Cersei talking to the Iron Bank dude, telling him, you know, our debt will be paid in full today, you know, stuff like that. But I don't know. The Cersei scenes are kind of boring at this point. And I want to get to the juicy bits with, you know, Daenerys and, you know, Jamie and, you know, actually watching her try and start her campaign, truly starting her campaign to take over. I find that those are a lot better than really anything. This episode, surprisingly, was the shortest episode of the season at 50 minutes. But they packed in a lot of stuff into this episode. So it was real fun to watch. I give the episode a solid A minus. And they just keep getting better. So I am looking forward to next week's episode so much. I hope they don't leave us with a cliffhanger like they left us with Jamie and Bronn in the water. So we don't even know if, you know, they're going to get fished out or not. Oh, another funny scene that just popped into my head was Theon and some of the Greyjoy men washing ashore on Dragonstone, and Jon grabbing him by the by the front of his shirt and saying, if you know, if it wasn't for what you know, what you did for Sansa is the only reason I'm not killing you right now. So that was really awesome, and it shows, you know, real restraint on Jon's part. But yeah, A minus, solid A minus, guys. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. What was your favorite part? My favorite part was Jon's story time in the cave. What was your favorite part of this episode? Did you enjoy it? Let me know in the comments down below. And click that little red button down there that says subscribe so you can catch next week's review and we can chat about more stuff. If you missed last week's review, go ahead and click right there. And if you want to see my top 5 book theories that were proven on the show, go ahead and click right there. And as always, guys, I'll see you next week. Later, geeks!